Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. My dear students of BS and MA Final English Language Teaching and TESOL, I welcome you again in the second online class. And as yesterday we were talking about the importance of teaching of listening and how significantly it contributes in the development of spoken language. And we could not complete that session yesterday, and we had this session today scheduled only to complete it and to explain with you more about the importance of listening and what involves for English language learner to understand the challenges, the problems, and the prospects that good listening brings. So I've been sharing with you a handout which I already shared with you in the classroom, and I was going through it. And of course, I was referring to some books yesterday, but I would today again emphasize with one of the functions of listening that I shared with you yesterday. So can somebody very quickly tell me about two main functions of listening so that we will start off? Can anyone, if I say, Shoaib Rajpur, could you tell me about the two functions of listening? Shoaib Rajpur, are you there?
Yes, sir. I am here.
Oh, yes, sir. Getting a question.
No, sir. Here is just a network problem, so I am in the village, sir.
Oh, my dear. Villages are no more villages. These are all cities now. Okay, could I ask Kamrun Nisa? Okay, volunteer. Anybody who could tell me about two main functions of listening, which I explained yesterday?
The two main function of listening of EL listener. One is about the root and information or content. And the second is, it is a rich source for learning about spoken language. Both apply to listening to lectures.
Excellent. Excellent, gentlemen. Very good. Yes, there are two main functions of listening. I repeat, one, that it is a rich source of your knowledge. I mean, when you listen to lectures and talks, you get a lot of knowledge. The second, which I said, it is a route, R-O-U-T-E, route. It's a route to information. I mean, it is a source to information when you're listening to a lot of talks and lectures and everything around the world. You're listening every day, hundreds of people almost every day. And so everything you listen, you are getting some information. The second important purpose of listening is that it provides you a rich source of developing your spoken language. Let's suppose that you are listening to English speakers, American English speakers, or British English speakers, British speakers of English. Or even, let's say, you are listening to Pakistani speakers of English language. I mean, all these listeners, because English is not your native language, it is a foreign language. It used to be a foreign language, but now occupies to be increasingly, it has grown a lot. So it has become our second language. So the more you are listening to that language, the more you are exposing to it, the more you are listening to it, the more you are retrieving or getting exposure to various phrases, structures, and sound systems, idioms. I mean, different language chunks used in different contexts. I mean, language used in one situation varies to another situation. So, I mean, when you're listening to a range of people, without any consideration that who that speaker is, whether it's Pakistani, American, or British, but that listening of English is contributing into your own spoken language. So not only it is going to develop your spoken language, but it is going to make a strong connection between your listening abilities and your ability to retain that information, how quickly you can identify words and retain the information that you listen, and how long can you retain that information. And that's very critical. You see, we all learn our first language just only by listening. You listen to Saraiki, Sindhi, Pashto, or whatever language, Barochki or whatever, in the villages. People speak multiple languages. The only reason that they've never been to schools, but they're listening it a lot and listen it into a variety of contexts and into a variety of needs. For example, I remember once upon a time I was in a cloth merchant's shop, and that cloth merchant was speaking Barochki, and he was basically a Hindu and is speaking Barochki with his Baroch customers. And I was really, being a linguist, I was really surprised. I mean, how could he maintain the flow and the grip of the Barochki structures, being a Hindu person who is only keen to Sindhi and Urdu, but he was using very good Barochki at all. Like I myself had an example that I been in once upon a time in an Arab country for some time. So I mean, I never been to a class for learning Arabic, but I've been to the streets, to the business places, to the shops. I mean, to the offices. I mean, driving on the roads, everywhere you meet people. So yeah, all of them speak Arabic. So you're exposed to it and you begin to catch it. And you know, human is the most powerful, powerful, I should say, computer. Humans have got a very powerful computer. I mean, to listen and record, retain, and then reutilize it. But this all depends on your seriousness when you are listening to a lecture talk. I mean, if you're really a serious person, if you are paying your attention, if you are concentrating on it, whatever you will listen, it will have some place in your mind and your memory. But if you are just listening for the sake of fun, if you're sitting in the class, but physically, but mentally, you're not there in the class, and of course, because you do not find the teacher's talk so motivating, the environment in the classroom so motivating, so of course it will lose your willingness and your interest. So once you lost your interest, once you lost your willingness to learn, of course you are going to not take the great benefit of listening to English of whatever quality it is. So I mean, this is how critical it is. I mean, if you really want to be a good speaker, you can never be a good speaker. Remember this thing. If you want to be a good speaker of English, you will have to be a good listener of English. I mean, it's just not listening to words. It is listening to a stream. Language sometimes flows in like a stream. So when you are listening to a speaker, you know, he has got his own style of intonation, using words, phrases, clauses, expressions, and then body language, top of all, is very important. How he's choosing words, attaching meaning to those words, and how he's making those words relevant with the context he's talking about. So, I mean, there are a number of factors that are involved in once you're listening to a speaker. And once you are beginning to develop your own speaking skills by listening to other great scholars, teachers, or even ordinary people. Okay, so that's about it. Does anybody have so far any question before I move to the next part? Which is,
some students are waiting for your approval in the class.
I already said admit all. So, well, yes, there are 7 people. So I allowed them again.
They are messaging me.
Okay. No problems. They can join and they can listen this recording on my YouTube. I'll upload it. I mean, today I was not able to do it yesterday, but today I would definitely do it, because then there is a week of holidays from Monday to next Monday. So then Okay, so let's see that we've got a slide. This is it that I was talking to you about yesterday. You know, when we talk about listening, there are few special things about listening. And, you know, when somebody is talking to you and you are sitting in a class of 50, 60 students now, or 80 students, for example, we have now around 70 students here. Imagine every person has his own ability. Every person is not on the same pace and speed to listen me. There are people who might just get me after a very long time. So, I mean, something that is special about listening is the matter of speed, because the speed is not equal to all these students, because the students vary. Some of you are very good. It may be equal to those students who are very good, but those who are not very good, mediocres and weak in listening, I mean, they are going to face some problems in making connection. And that's like, if you're reading, you can read with the same pace. Everybody can read and identify because the words are there. So once you are listening, words are not there, sounds are there. All right? Here's the difference between reading and listening. The sounds are there. So if there are sounds, then of course it is not easy to catch those sounds. But with your visibility, you can see words. And then because listening has, again, as I said, it is like with lot of continuity. It has a fluency. It has some kind of a flow. A teacher is playing with words and structures. But for students at times, it is very, very important, I mean, to understand that flow and then catch that the meaning of the words and phrases and instruction that is giving. Then something which is very problematic at times, in addition to speed, continuity, there is another problem of recognition. I mean, whether you can recognize the sounds that the teacher is making. We are Pakistani teachers, for you very easy to recognize us. But what about if you're an American teacher? If you have got some British teacher, some Australian teacher, a teacher from New Zealand, a teacher from China, not easy. A Chinese accent of English is a bit difficult than Pakistani accent, or then South Asian variety of English. So, I mean, you always have you always have some issues. I mean, well, it's asking for time, so we are going to make it. Hello.
Assalamu alaikum.
Yes, Wasam.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Any problem?
Yes, sir.
Sir, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Sir, as you said that if you want to be a good listener, you can't be a good listener. What kind of logic you have used, sir? I haven't understand.
I said you cannot be a good listener only by listening. No, I said you cannot be a good speaker.
Yeah.
Right? You cannot be a good speaker without being a good listener.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is my point clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is what I said. You cannot be a good listener until you cannot be a good speaker until you are a good listener. Actually, I'm trying to Well, I don't know if there are issues of time here.
Yes, sir.
You know, Zoom actually, yes, somebody has a question?
So would you like to define more of problems of recognition and special about listening?
Oh, yes,
Just
I
to give
just,
an example of Chinese and
can
Chinese teacher and
you see the
other.
slide?
Yes, sir, of course.
Okay. Okay, yes, as I said,
So we're discussing about the special about listening. Number 4, problem of recognition.
yeah, problem of recognition. You know, sometimes I mean, are you able to see this slide?
Yes, sir.
Principal? Okay,
Yes, sir.
so I continue with it. Actually, I'm not able to see that all of you in this.
So I have a request. You must conduct a class in MS app. It's the best for all.
MS Team, yeah, I'm trying to aid you there. I just want some help if somebody could extend so that we could, I mean, aid the numbers of the student there. That's all actually is required there. So we are going to do it maybe next time on that. Okay. So I was saying that the problem of recognition is very important. Now, recognition is the basically recognition of sounds. Not only, of course, because there are some cultural markers and links or phrases which at times, you know, become somewhat difficult, but that's very rare. Normally, language listening, you know, if you listen to Tony Lynch, for example, who has written a very famous book on study listening, you will find that at times words are not easily retainable, recognizable. This depends on how good your practice of listening is. So and then the third, the fifth thing, the other important thing is, you know, when we are listening to somebody, at times the speaker does not use the whole language. He says just yes and no. Like, well, you cannot learn good speaking skills until you learn good listening. Now, for example, somebody who could skip with the word listening will be out of this whole whole chunk of this language. So I mean, for the listeners, it is important to pay 100% of his attention to the sounds that are coming or the utterances that are coming. They are phrases, they are. Look, I'm just talking, but I'm saying during my talk, hold on, sit down. Okay, come on, wait, bear me for a moment. Pause, please. At times you got incomplete utterances in the class from the teachers. Now, then when we talk about teachers of listening, and then we talk about some principles, there are some principles which are very important. You know, we use tape recorders, recordings to teach listening. Listening cannot be done just by a lecture like I'm giving you a lecture. This is all a theoretical part of the discussion that we are making, but the actual or the practical listening will take place once we begin to, once we move to the classrooms, and then we have tape recorders, CDs, playing, pausing, asking questions, and then checking exactly how everybody is listening it or he's not listening it. So, I mean, there is very, so you want to say, somebody is trying to say something? Hello? I mean, I could see some red line. Okay, then we move on to forms of listening, which is very important. Now, these forms of listening basically are actually three forms of listening. One is pre-listening, the other one is listening, the other one is post-listening. Now, what is the basic difference? You will read this handout in details, but in this pre-listening time or this pre-listening stage, there is a general discussion. For example, if you can say that as I am talking to you for last 15, 20 minutes, I mean, this is a discussion. This type of discussion can take place before we begin actual listening practice. And this will be called as pre-listening. I mean, the teacher explains to the students what's coming next for them in the class. Then comes real listening, which is just playing some recorded material and then playing that into different parts. I mean, there could be smaller chunks, there could be bigger chunks, there could be phrases, clauses, sentences, one speaker, two speakers, three speakers speaking.